Okay, now the fun part. We're going to do eyeshadow. So the two palettes I'm going to use today are this Hard Candy palette. It is the Hard Candy Look Pro Matte Eyeshadow Palette. It's all matte shades in here. You can find Hard Candy at Walmart, and this is the shades. It's a really nice palette. It's got quite a few different shades in it. It's got warm shades, it's got cool shades, it's got a nice matte black in it, and it's got a lot of like brown transition shades, like kind of taupey shades. So, and then also has a lot of brow bone shades. And I'll kind of talk about that as I go through it. And then paired with that, because these are all matte and I might want something shimmery on my eyelid, I'm going to use this Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. This is a really affordable palette. You can get Wet n Wild at Walmart, Walgreens, a lot of places. And some of these Wet n Wild eyeshadows are amazing. They're really creamy, really pigmented, and this one is a really good palette, and it's really, really inexpensive. The first thing I want to do is talk about brushes. So the three most important brushes to me are these three brushes here. These, again, are Luxie. I got these in a box, a subscription box, but you can find eyeshadow brushes like this in e.l.f. You can find them a lot of places, but if you can see, they're fluffy brushes, and they go from biggest to like a smaller, shorter, more dense, and then this one is really skinny and long and a little bit more floppy. But this I like to use for what I call my transition shade, and I'll talk about that. That's going to be a shade that is a little bit darker than your skin tone, like some of those taupes. And then when I go in with a little bit darker color, I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to concentrate that because it's a little bit smaller. I can concentrate that more in an area that I want, where I want it to be even a little bit darker. And then this one I use on in my crease as well, or my outer corner, because it's so skinny, it can get right in there. I use my darkest color there. That's going to make that gradient effect eyeshadow, if that's something that you like. Those are going to help you do it. And then the other brushes that I have are, this brush. This is an e.l.f. brush. It is the Professional Eyeshadow Brush. This is going to be for my eyelid, to pack on color there. The first one, like I said, I'm going to start with is that big fluffy brush, and I'm going to grab one of these in the second row, one of these taupes that are kind of light but darker than my skin tone. I think I'm going to go with this one here. It's just a nice taupe color. I'm going to grab some on my brush, like with everything else. I'm going to tap it off because I don't want to go in with too much product. And I just want to stay in, not right in my crease, maybe have the brush somewhat touching my crease, but also above it, in this kind of area right here. Not all the way up to my eyebrow, but in this whole region right here is where I want to concentrate that taupey, a little bit darker than your skin tone color look. So I'm just going back and forth and doing circles with that color. You can always go back in for more. So you just kind of work it until it gets to the color that you want it to be. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's not like a super intense dark color. It's just enough to kind of give our eyes a little something. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with that second brush that we had, the little bit smaller brush. And this one, I'm going to try to really keep it into that crease, like right into that hollow of my eye. And it's best to kind of look down when you're doing this. If you're looking down into a mirror, you're going to see a lot more of your eye space to be able to get into that crease. If you're looking at it straight on, like if I'm looking in here, I have no crease, like my eye, especially because I have hooded eyelids, but you can't really get into it, so you're going to want to look down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this color here. It's a little bit deeper of a brown, and I'm just going to, again, stay right in that crease. I'm not going to go above where we put that transition shade. I'm just going to follow the shape of my eye and put that darker color there. So you can kind of see how that's deepening up that that crease for me, and it's making my eyelid look a lot brighter, and it's helping give dimension to the eye. I'm gonna go. And it's the same kind of motions. I just kind of go in a U shape or like a rainbow kind of shape in my eye, but also kind of wiggle my brush as I'm doing it, almost like little circles. The reason why you do that is because you're constantly wanting to blend it as you're applying it, so that it's not like just one U shape or one rainbow shape of color. You want it to be where it blends, where you'll have it darker kind of where you're first applying it, but it blends out into the other colors, and that's what's going to give you that more gradient dimension. Once we have that how we want it, we are going to go ahead and take that smaller brush and pick up a darker color. There's so many different ways to do eyeshadows. This is just one look that I like to do. This is not something you have to do every single time, but just showing you kind of what I typically do when I do eye color, this is what I do. Is I'm going to pick up this kind of purpley browny plum color right here, and with this one, with this skinny brush, I'm gonna grab some product, and I really just want to stay on the outer corner of my eye. So I'm gonna go up into my crease. I'm gonna start at the corner of my eyelid, like right here. I'm gonna start there, and I'm gonna bring it up into the crease, but really kind of focusing when I first touch my eye with the brush, that outer corner, just to deepen that up a little bit. So same motions, I'm just not going the full way around. I'm just only going maybe halfway across my eye with that color, but again, when I'm first putting it on, I'm putting it on, touching my outer corner of my lid, and then bringing it up to that crease. You almost kind of work in like a V on that outer corner. You don't want to go too much on the lid because we're going to be putting a different color there. You just want to stay on the outer corner and then again bring it up to the crease, but not all the way across. So you can see how that darkened up even more than that one. It creates that kind of like a smokier look. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, I am just, when I'm first putting it on, I'm putting it right in that corner because that's where I want the most intense pigment to be, and then bring it up to that crease, but not going past the middle of my eye, and just rubbing it back and forth just to blend out that color. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in on my eyelids. I'm going to pick up this color here. It's kind of a taupey, a shimmery taupe. I'm going to pick that shimmery shade up with my packing brush. And with the colors on your eyelids, and the reason why it's called a packing brush is because you're not sweeping the color across your eyelids. You really want to just pack it on. So when I go in with it, I'm going to literally just pat it on to my eyelid. Not rubbing it back and forth, I'm just dabbing it on. You're just packing and you're just staying. You don't want to cover up that dark area too much. You want to bring it a little bit into that just to blend it together. But you're really focusing on staying on that eyelid and not going above that crease. So you're just following your eyelid. I don't know if you can see that shimmery shade there. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing the other eye. And so that's kind of your basic, that's what I basically do, is kind of a neutral, kind of smokier eye. When you're done, if you feel like you have any harsh lines with some of those colors, you can take you can either take a clean fluffy brush or take the brush that you originally used, that big fluffy brush that we did our transition with, and just, I like to do this no matter what, and just kind of go over all that just to blend everything in so that there's no harsh lines. For our brow bone, I want to highlight that a little bit, so I'm just going to take this e.l.f. eyeshadow C brush and just grab this color right here. It's kind of a peachy color. I'm just going to grab some of that on this brush, and then I kind of want to angle it up because I don't want to have too much come out. Just kind of put it right underneath my eyebrow, right above that transition. The highlighter that we used on our face, and grab some of that and just place that not all the way across underneath our eyebrow, but like just at the tail end. Then what I like to do is I use this NYX Wonder Pencil, just an eyeliner pencil, and it's kind of a peachy pink color. It's not completely white. This is what I like to use in my waterline. Usually during the day I want to appear really awake, really refreshed, so I use this in my waterline, and it really helps make my eyes look a lot more rested, a lot more awake. So I'm just going to go in. And then once I'm done with that, I didn't do a liquid eyeliner on top of my eyelid. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I am going to be using a new mascara today, so I wanted to see how that looked on its own. So what I usually do is I go in with whatever the darkest color I used. I'll use that for underneath my waterline. I'm just going to take this color here. That was the darkest color that we used, and just to kind of match that, I'm going to grab some on this professional defining brush, that kind of angled brush that we had. I'm going to tap off the extra, and then what I do is I'm just going to go right under, I'm not going to go on my waterline, but I'm going to go right along my lash line. Just kind of work in small strokes. I like using eyeshadows under my eyes more than I like using eyeliners, just because then I don't have to worry about them smearing or budging, and it just kind of gives a softer look. That's usually all I do for underneath my eyes. So now I'm going to use this mascara that's been super raved about, highly talked about. Everybody has been talking about how great this Lash Paradise is by L'Oreal, so I finally got my hands on it yesterday, so I'm excited to try it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Now I'm going to go in. I hate doing my bottom lashes. They are so sparse and so fine that it's always super hard for me to get in there and get everyone without making a complete mess. But this actually worked really, really good. For as big as the brush is, I was surprised. So now I'm going to go in with lips, and I like to go in with a lip liner and then coat that with like a gloss. So I don't just line my lips with a lip liner, I fill in my lips with a lip liner. I feel like lip liners, especially certain ones, last a really long time. Sometimes they last even more than lipstick. So if you go in and cover your whole lip area with a lip liner, and then you put something else on that's going to fade or move throughout the day, if you have that lip liner underneath, when it wears off, it won't be as noticeable. Oh, the lip liner I'm using, it's Essence again. It's in the color, in the Nude. And it's really good. It stays put. I'm going to use this liquid lipstick. It's the L'Oreal Infallible Paints. This is the first one I've tried of that. I've heard really good things about it. And this is in the color Nude Star. I really like that. So that is pretty much it for my everyday kind of makeup routine, makeup look. Hopefully you guys found it helpful, enjoyable. I'm going to try to figure out a way to list the products down below that I used, just in case you want to reference them, or in case I forgot to mention any of them. This is the first time I've done a video like this, so I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. I'm going to hopefully go back and edit it, and hopefully it will be something that was enjoyable for you guys. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and hopefully I'll post another fun video for you guys soon. Alright, bye!